What's up, everybody? My name is B-Max, aka Brandon. This is episode 67 of the Anime Dojo. I'm alongside Chris. How you doing?
What's good, everybody? What's good, B Dog?
Doing well, can't complain. We have a couple things to get into tonight. We're going to be talking about um, Suicide Squad, the last episode, kind of getting through what they've the last episode, how they've done things and what they're going in the future. Because that last episode was actually pretty fun, pretty interesting. We're all going to talk about a lot of Kaiju number 8 news, a couple things about the next season, a special presentation for one of their episodes, and then some other little things we might know down the future. Then we'll get into the charts for this week because charts are kind of different this week because of the Olympics going on. So it's a lot of things got moved around or on hiatus for a day this week or so. So we'll look at the charts, see how they kind of panned out, and then I'll let Chris had an idea of letting Chris and Deon, who might be joining us later this evening, pick an episode for us to do since we are not going to have any Shy or Dungeon people this week because they're both on kind of on hiatus for the Olympics. So we'll get into that as well. But let's start out with Kaiju. Let's start out with Suicide Squad. This last episode of Suicide Squad was very, very good. I have to give him credit. It was something different. It didn't. I wouldn't say it's a full isekai yet, but I think it's closer in. I think it's closer getting to that point because the story it was telling here was after the princess let out Harley and the gang, they tried to go back to their their ship, trying to make sure they don't lose anybody. But then as they're trying to do that, trying to still do the mission, and Lawler was like, you know what, y'all are not really worth it anymore. Tries to just explode Clayface's neck thing, which ends up does explodes, turns into clay, but it doesn't really hurt Clayface. The guy that's in there handled her throughout this whole first couple episodes, and we've seen him a couple other times in the last couple episodes. He kind of says, "We need to finish this. We need to do this," and basically Lawler gives him one more chance to do this right. At the same time, King Shark's in jail. The princess sees what happened to her mom through the mirror when she walks to go see her. We see that the queen is basically being controlled by something. We don't know what, but that control is kind of making it difficult to make her making right decisions and really rash decisions. So we kind of see that's why she's not been herself. Also, the fact that the princess's bodyguard and like person that she is confidant to basically takes over, like basically taken back because he tried to help them and she doesn't really like that. A lot of different things playing around with this. Ultimately, I think this episode was fun. Chris, what do you think about this episode?
So, bro, okay, let's get this straight. I like the episode. I like what they're doing. However, it feels more like this is what they were trying to do with a Suicide 3 movie. Suicide Squad 3 movie. And I mean, it seems more of I don't. It's really hard for me to call it a isekai because really, none of them were really isekai to this world. They all walked through a portal, so none of them really died to get there. So that's one thing. And then the last few episodes, I feel like if you wanted to make it into more of an anime, you would have explored by now. You would have explored our characters, each individual magical power to some degree.
Which they really
So,
haven't.
and then lastly, so it kind of makes me say that it's a suicide. You could say you could. It's like Suicide Squad decided to be isekai. That that should be the name of the show.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, it's weird you mention it that way because this feels like the reason they're going into this world. They want Amanda Waller and her team want something from this world. We don't know what. We don't have any clue what that is, but yet there's something there. It's odd because there's no indication of why she wants them to go in this world and what was the purpose. Because it's for her, she just sending them in there to do small remedial tasks. But yet it feels like there's a bigger plot, overall arching plot for this. And also, did you notice that this is that we've only seen a Waller twice? The first episode and its last episode. That's it. So they've kind of dropped the reason why they're in there.
I mean, but it's like that in the movies too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It feels kind of half done, but in a weird way. It feels like there was more story to tell, but they were hoping they want to make sure this was going to stick first. It oddly doesn't even feel like there's much story to tell at all. I feel like this is one of those ones where we kind of see the story getting told, but then it kind of falls off a cliff.
No, I see the story of this one. It's more so, okay, so they get there, they cause trouble like they do. The queen ends up using them, and the kingdom uses them for their gain. Then the queen decides, oh, they're doing too much, and then that's when we learn that she is. So, and here at the end, they're going back to save King Shark, but they're gonna inevitably save the queen too, thus saving their behind and the show. That's the rest of this. That's the rest of this.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, then, do you think this is just a one-off? Which means, in the sense of one-off, when I say that, I'm saying like it's one season, 10 episodes. That's it.
Yep, I think it is. And by
So,
the way, that is not a spoiler. That is my guess. And
oh
if
yeah,
I'm wrong, well, yeah,
yeah.
I call.
That is a guess, and it's not a hard. It's not a. That's not a. That is not a hard guess to make because with everything we've seen up to this point with episode 6, there's factors there which could be easily obtained.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it doesn't feel like they overdid it. In a sense, they kind of did it still just enough. Um, yeah, we'll see. I'll ask you this first. I'll ask you these. First, I'll say the thing. What would you rate episode 6 for Suicide Squad Isekai?
I'm gonna give it an 8.2.
Ooh, explain.
I mean, it was still a good show. I
Okay.
mean, let's just be honest. It's hard to watch it as an anime or isekai of that, but for what it is, for a DC show, a DC animated comic, it is still good. I like it.
Okay. Okay. I would have to go. I have to go. I have to go like 8. I can agree with that. Yeah, you're right about that. I think for episode 6 it was 8. For a DC comic show, yes, it does really well. For anime,
Eh,
kind of doesn't really fit that anime bill, but it fits it enough where you could really justly see it being a thing. Um, then my other question is: we are at the halfway point. We're past halfway point. What would you give the halfway point rating for Suicide Squad Isekai?
7.3.
You said 7.3.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I would go in that case, in which you're thinking of that, and you're kind of thinking of the whole all the episodes we've done so far. I would have to go like a 6.5. So I'm a little lower than you, but I don't think if you're a anime fan, you ain't gonna understand. You're gonna be kind of like, yeah, it's not great anime. If you're a DC fan, you will like this because
It's DC.
it's DC. It's built like that. That's the way they build it. I also kind of feel like too, the one thing they've done, which I think most people can agree with, is the fact that it's not it's not something where you can make the characters more interesting. If you're gonna do the stuff you did with the isekai stuff, I don't think you should have Lawler should not have been involved at all. Lawler should just have been there, and then that happens. Um,
I would have had minded if she were just a voice from the walkie-talkie the whole show.
Correct. like seeing her in the first episode kind of doesn't give you any real reason for her being there after that. It's just kind of like she's just around. Um,
However, if this was made into a second season, which it can still be possible depending on how they do the last few episodes,
mhm.
but a lot of things will need to be changed in order
I
to make
don't,
it better.
I don't, I don't think you make us. The only way you make a second season, you don't save the queen. If you don't save the queen, the second season's guaranteed. If you do save the queen, the second season's not guaranteed. That's your
Well,
kind of lynch. Go ahead.
well, this is what I'm thinking because this is just how the character Waller works. They go in, save the queen, and all of a sudden they can put legs down, they can put a station down in that world. And guess who's gonna be in that station?
Lawler. Yeah, Amanda Lawler. I get it. Yeah, yeah. I
So it's
I see
still
it.
possible. They have ways to write in it, but
And the other thing
yeah.
too, you still have the bad guy that's still there because the bad guy didn't die technically. Which I'm talking. You're talking about the Brainiac dude. We still have Enchantress there. So ultimately, we have our bad villains there, but it's not like they're. Speaking of Enchantress, I think Enchantress is the one controlling the Queen. By the way,
Yep. I think she cursed
through
her.
the through a puppet or something. That's way she's controlling her because that's the only reason that would make sense if Enchantress didn't get blasted away with the guy. But hey, it's it's a fun show. It's worth watching. It's just kind of like I said this with Mash, and I'll say it here. And I know Deon didn't agree with this all the time, but I do say it a lot. All Mash, one where you turn your brain off, you just enjoy it, and that's the point they're trying to get at. Because no, the story ain't super deep. The story ain't crazy. It's just there. Um, but ultimately, I think it's gonna be one of those things where you have to turn off your anime brain for a little bit and just watch as a DC fan and see what you like. Think about it.
I agree with that.
But let's get into our really main topic tonight is that Kaiju number 8 is coming back next year with a second season and more. So basically, according to Anime Corner, Kaiju number 8 is confirmed to have season 2. We're releasing in 2025, which was pretty much confirmed nonetheless that we're going to get a second season and it was going to come pretty quickly. Um, after the third season finale was without a format with Crunchyroll confirmed that they will be streaming it. An original episode titled Honoshia's Day Off is also to also in production and will be shown theatrically along with the completed first season. Production by IG will return for the animation and creative designs by okay to celebrate the 5th birthday of Kafka Himeno. Um, Chris, what do you think about this? The main thing from this, we already knew season 2 was in production. Do you think 2025 is a little fast? And what do you think about Hoshina's Day Off as a spin-off episode? Well, I found in another article, some other news, Anime TV, and a couple other places mentioned it's only going to air in Japan theatrically, and it's going to come to Crunchyroll later, or if at all. I don't think they never really said if it was going to come to Crunchyroll later. What do you think about the fact we're getting season 2, but we're also getting that special episode?
Okay, so like you said, we already knew we were getting a second episode. No biggie. For it to come out in 2025, no surprise either. Because I think they're gonna do it just like they did this year, where the first part of the season we're gonna get solo leveling, and then the next season is followed by Kaiju 8. I think
Mm-hmm.
that just look like how it's gonna end up happening again. Now, I'm interested to see what everything else is because see to me the Hoshin yeah, she's Day Off. It really just sounds like it's gonna be an OVA or a filler. So
That's what I
yeah.
thought. That's what I thought too. The big issue with that is if that's the case, the way they make it sound, that's gonna have some storyline relevance for season 2, a little bit, which is also because they said it's gonna be airing alongside season 2. So that ultimately means there's some storyline relevance somewhere. Maybe not a huge
May,
storyline relevance, but something.
but for Crunchyroll to not play it in the spot for it to make sense, it would either have to be played before the season premieres or after the season premieres.
But if you do it after season premiere, it's not going to really have
Yeah.
plot
Right.
relevance.
And
Because,
it's just gonna be considered OVA.
yeah, absolutely. I I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see how much they're gonna really take to this, because I don't think um, I I ultimately don't think it's gonna be one of those things where if you do a special episode, because other animes have done special episodes. We're getting a special episode for My Hero at the end of season 7, which is already aired in Japan. Um, I don't know if that's going to really make fans happy to see a special episode where it has no context to the season next season, or the special episode does have context, but the context is so light, which make it has no real bearing on what's going on.
Which is
I
only
hope
gonna piss people off.
correct, which is I hope it's the latter, not the former. Um, we'll see, because if it's showing us what Hoshina does outside of the core, the defense force, kind of interesting, but doesn't really have a bearing on what's going to happen in season 2. Fine, but if it's showing us what does as a defense force, but also gives us a little bit of training or a training montage or whatever, then I'm down. I'm absolutely down for that. How much they actually take from it, I don't know. I'll be solely interested in how often they do this, how well they're going to do this. Because if we were doing one off episode, you're probably going to do another if it does well enough. I could assume, but ultimately that's just up to the people who made it. And I'm going to ask you this: you said this at the beginning, and I want to see why you said this. You said that you think Soul Leveling will come out, and then either the season after, or whatever that season will be, Kajiu Braids comes out. Do you really think they will do that again? Because that's kind of honestly do.
Yep.
It feels like we're gonna get a cycle of what we had this prior season. Soul
Well,
Leveling, Mash come out at the same time. And then Mash gets up by Soul Leveling, which also means the next season we're gonna have something big. But the big thing we have is Kaiju, which has nothing else to fight against it.
yeah, but you also read what we also saw in another article where solo leveling was delayed.
Yes, but I also saw one this past week that said that Soul Leveling is done with production. They're finished with production for Soul Leveling for season 2.
Mm.
So I don't know what's actually happening now, because if that's the case, they're ahead of schedule than I think anybody expected. I do remember seeing the thing about they were delayed.
Mm. Just depends on what they were able to get done because I mean they still have to do all the voice acting.
Yes, they do. I'm assuming I would think. I think they said the production's finished, which means like the animation's finished, but not the like all the other stuff, which I would thought that'd be the case.
Yeah, so they must have a lot to do and a lot to. I mean, just because they finished the production and animation and stuff, that just means usually means that they just finished like the storyboard and how the episodes are going to flow and
Mm-hmm.
everything like that. They still need to actually go and animate it and put voice acting to it and sound and oh man.
So the producer for comicbook.com put out an article, or the producer had an interview for comicbook.com, basically saying all eyes on the next season are now on season 2. We of course for all years, and the show producer just gave us the big status update, taking social media, soloing fans the update that has all been waiting on. producer who worked with A1 for years now confirmed that season 2 has wrapped dubbing. As for the rest of the production, the work happening fast. So Kona hopes the team will have some kind of goodies to show to fans soon. So actually they're doing it in reverse. Based on this, they've gotten all of the voice acting done,
Hmm.
and they're still working on the production side.
That makes sense too, I guess.
Yeah, so it
Yes.
says season 2 is developed at a freer pace, so please wait a bit longer until new information is released. That was from one of the producers. Um, when the anime premiere had in January earned rave reviews, yeah, we kind of knew about all this. Um, I, it's gonna be interesting because they're getting some money behind Soul Leveling. We know that
Of
there's
course.
there, and it says in an article from comicbook.com, they're like, oh, there's money behind. They put some cash behind Soul Leveling. Um, it's scary to me to believe that are these going to be, and we're getting into Charles Lady Jump in a minute, but I want to ask this question because I think about it now. Are these going to be the next version of your My Hero, your Demon Slayers, that kind of stuff? Because if that's the case, we could have these shows going for at least 5-6 years or longer.
Yeah, but they're pushing out seasons kind of fast. So think about it. You're saying the 5 to 6 years, and they need to put out at least 5 to 6 seasons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I okay, you got me there. You do got me there. I wonder then if that's just them trying to get out seasons fast enough. Because at any of this point, how many seasons are you trying to get out? Like that's a lot of seasons to get out in one setting. Like you're doing 2 seasons within a year and a half, within a year. That's
You,
insane.
you see what I'm saying? Like at some point they're gonna pull the brakes on that thing. You know what I'm saying?
I don't. I would agree with you normally, but the reason I don't think they will is because they're getting the money from Crunchyroll. If they weren't getting the backing from Crunchyroll, oh yeah, the brakes be pulled faster than ever. But
You're
Crunchyroll,
right. But they can only produce content as fast as the creator can create.
true. The only saving grace is the fact you do have the 8 books already out for Soul Leveling, and for Kaiju, you have most of the manga done for Contract. I think Kaiju. Um, it's by no means. I don't think this is going to be one of those things where I'm like, okay, we'll see where it goes. The only reason I bring it up, I think if you're going to have these two be the next Tadpole anime, I don't want nothing to be rushed. I ultimately would be like, and I say this for games. I say this for games all the time. I'll keep saying it for games. I think with games, you need to take all the time in the world. I don't care, and that's the way for anime. Take all the time you need. We're not in a rush to get it. I know fans are clamoring for it. I get it, but it's like the popularity of it. People have the manga. People have the light novel. People have the webtoon. Like you could go find those sources out pretty easily. Um, it's also kind of like when they know it's making as good a money as it is, they are like, we need to make things too fast as possible. Well, it kind of reminds me when they knew The Boys was as good as it is, they've already made 4 seasons of The Boys, and they're also making a spinoff series eventually, which I heard of now.
But that's
Like,
what I'm saying. Like that they're running out of content. They're running stuff dry. Which preferably I would rather them run the show dry to a complete ending than to try to spin it off in another show and that show ends up being horrible.
I'll put it to you this way: out of the 2 shows, which do you think will get a spinoff first? Kaiju or Soul Leveling?
Probably solo leveling.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. Because I think you could do
Because
more souls.
solo leveling has already set a world where other people like him can exist.
Correct. Absolutely.
Whereas Kaiju 8, he's kind of like the one man deity that stands free above other of his kind. So he's one of a kind.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I don't see as easy as a spinoff.
Okay. Okay. I just bring the quest line in general because it's interesting. Me and Chris will tell you, and then I think even Deon would mention it too. We all like Soul Leveling. We all thought Soul Leveling was really, really good as we got to the back half of the season. If you can keep up that pace in the way they've done some of those fights and things, it will be fine. I think that's the other thing is the character development in Soul Leveling is a lot stronger. The thing with Kaiju got better at the end because we got the character development, which I think they're going to take more time with Kaiju because Kaiju has to build in the characters, build in what you want to talk about. But it's also on the downside, you cannot try to fill the shoes of like a My Hero or even like a Demon Slayer or even to a point with the final season of the final arc of this is One Piece. Like you can't fill those shoes because those shoes are hard to fill. It's gonna be interesting to see what's the next thing we get from both these shows because I think we get news for both before the end of the year. I think we get either a teaser trailer, something. I don't know what it'll be. We'll get some kind of news for both, and that's gonna be your big thing going into 2025. Of here's the first teaser trailer. Here's the first whatever concept art, something. Um, but hey, we'll see what happens. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. But let's get into the charts tonight. The charts are actually pretty interesting. I have to give them. I'm actually kind of shocked the way these charts ended up because there's not a lot of like heavy hitters. There's some good hitters, but not heavy hitters. So we'll start with this. Always sometimes hide your feelings and hurt feelings in Russian is at 1, went up 3 spots. Oceanico season 2 dropped a spot 2. Days with my stepsister went to 3, came back in the chart at 3. Fairy Tale 100 Year Quest went to 4, went up 3 spots. Too Many Losses, Too Many Loser Heroines went up 5 spots to 5. Suicide Squad Isekai went up 9 spots to 6. No Longer Allowed in Another World went up 4 spots. The Elusive Samurai went up 4 spots to 8, and then No Longer Another World went up to 7 from went up 4 spots. And then My Dear Friend Nakuto dropped a spot to 9, and 2.5 Dimension Seduction dropped a spot to 10. Chris, what do you think about this chart?
This chart was interesting, bro, because I have not. I need to catch back up with How's Our Feelings in Russian because it was good, it was sweet, and it wasn't too drama filled.
Mm-hmm.
Oshinoko, well, yeah, that's no surprise. Okay. Days of My Stepsister, now that stayed in some place. Now I watched it first. I can tell that that's probably a little more intense of a show, so I'm fine with that being where it's at.
Is it the
Fairy
same?
Tale,
Is it the
huh?
same level of intensity as Oshinoko or less intense?
It's more mature than Oshinoko. Let me put it that way.
Okay. Okay.
hmm So, and then as long as Fairy Tale's in the top 10, I'm satisfied. A little surprising to see that Suicide Squad made it to the top 10. Yeah, the rest of these are well, yeah. I'm not surprised to see him there.
I will give you this one. Elusive Samurai. I've been watching that. That's really, really good. Deserves the top 10 spot. I haven't watched No Longer in Another World. Allowed in the World. I heard that's getting good too, which is kind of interesting. Um, My Dear Friend Nokata. Been watching that. That's worth a watch. It's really, really good. Um, I'm a little surprised 2.5 dimension seduction dropped to 10. I don't think the last episode was terrible. I do understand it's not. It's that weird. It's that weird dichotomy of like they're trying to tell a story and not be just overly one way or the other. So I can see that. I do have to agree with you though. Suicide Squad getting 9 spots is kind of insane because, like we talked about at the beginning, I think that's the episode from this past week that's kind of good, but it doesn't really do much. It doesn't have to give you the story, but it's like, okay, that's a good story. I think that's also the reason why it's up 9 spots. I think that's because there's something else that people think is the people would normally watch or on hiatus. So it gave Suicide Squad the hope to do better. But also, one thing that's going right for Suicide Squad is the fact that you have it on 2 different platforms, Hulu and Max. So a lot of people can watch it over 2 different platforms if they really want, whatever platform you watch it on. So that's also helping them. I also agree too with the no longer feeling Russian. Need to go back and continue that. It just kind of fell off of that one. Let's look at the rest of this list because the rest of the list I think is very interesting. So after 10, we got Mongol series off and monster season. That's at 11. Tower of God is at 12. Why does Nick remember me in this world? Oh wait, why does nobody remember in this world? Which been watching. That's at 13. The time I got reincarnated as slime season 3 is at 14. Spice and Wolf at 15. Pseudo Harem at 16. The Cafe Terrace at 17. Failure Frame is at 18. Near Automata is at 19, which is part 2. I Parry Everything is at 20. From the rest of this list, Chris, what do you think kind of getting snubbed there? Because I think for me, it has to be Failure Frame.
I kind of think Near Automata is kind of missing out too, because
Yeah,
I mean, it's a nice story. I'm sure a lot of people aren't paying attention to it because it's pretty much the same as the game. But for those of us who haven't played the game, it is a nice catch up to it.
I also feel kind of bad for I Parry a little bit and Pseudo Harem, but more Parry because I think Parry is the one where I think would have done better, but it's also on high diet, so I understand why it's not gonna do as better as it should. It's also kind of funny because I think that's also the problem with like, what was it? If I go down the list even more, where is it at? So VTuber Legends at 27, which I think should be higher. Mission Yokohama Films at 28, which I forgot still continuing. Jeez, they've been going. My Wife Has No Emotions at 32. Code Geass at 35. Shy is at 37. Hookah Punch, which I've been enjoying. Chris recommended me that. I love that. That's at 30, 36. Plus Size Elves, which is actually pretty good. 38. And the last one I'll tell you about, Bye Bye Earth and Dungeon People. Bye Bye Earth's at 40. Dungeon People's at 42. It's weird because I'm gonna say this because Deon mentioned last week, and I think it's kind of funny because I think he's right. I think he's sadly right. This is one of the most mid-summers we've ever had for anime. Because I sadly think it has been. I hope
It really has been, bro. Like this whole summer season, they have a few hitters and maybe a few that were under the radar, but I mean, none of these shows were even remotely exciting or eye-catching. So I can see why they didn't advertise it too much.
But I'm gonna ask this question, and I'm gonna ask this with all respect, because you're more anime fan for me. You've been an anime fan longer than me. I'll put it that way. Do you think eventually the summer season is just going to be there to give devs the time to work on fall and spring?
Mm, if you ask me, it's probably slower shows because I think I'm not sure what's going on in the other side of the world, but they were encouraging kids to get outside and be outside more. Slower pace shows, so they're like bored and ready to go outside. That's the way I
Fair,
think.
fair. I agree with that. I also know for us in the States, like right now, if you live anywhere like southwest of the country, or the west side of west of the United States, it's very warm. So a lot of people don't try to get out in this warm weather outside of like work and maybe do a few errands and things. But ultimately, you are not staying outside that long. It's I think you're right in the sense it's slower pace, so you have more time to balance out things. But I also think too, it's on you. I think it's on the companies too to make shows that are interesting. And I will say this: Johnny People's very interesting. Has a good story. Papa Earth has a really good story. It's it feels like I think they don't know what can they put in the summer where people really care. And it's actually kind of interesting. I'm gonna be really interested, really interested. One of these times I'm gonna say this out loud is what's gonna be the big cosplay when we go to Anime Missouri. Because every year, almost every year, I've been to 10 now. Technically, this will be 10. Um, every year there's that big cosplay everybody does. My hero stuff, Attack on Titan. I saw a lot of. I think it was a couple years. I think it was not last year, the year prior. Delicious in Dungeon. I've seen Peach and Daisy, Mario stuff. Pokemon's still pretty big in the space. What is that group gonna have the bigger cosplays? Because ultimately, from the shows we've seen this fall, this winter, even the spring, I can't really tell you that now. And idea because I don't think I there's any idea in my brain right now what could that be.
Hmm. The really, it's funny that you bring up what we might see because I know this would be all of our first times going to Anime Maseri in Houston, Texas, but it's the fact that they are in their app, they have planned meetups for certain shows or certain costumes. This is where I think we might see some of the biggest following, especially if we attend the cosplay shows to see who actually won those contests and everything. So that might be something to do this year.
Mm-hmm. I will say that is the thing. You do have a lot of cosplay meetups at cons, which they pre-plan those usually in advance, so you know what's going on. It's just kind of funny because I remember last year was the last year, the year prior. When I went to ACon, they did the whole one for Marvel, and there was like all these Marvel characters. So they have done outside of anime more pop culture things. So it's just kind of interesting. What will be that pop culture one? I'm actually kind of surprised there's not much for. I didn't see one for Delicious in Dungeon already. That's the one I kind of thought of off the top of my head. It was like Delicious Dungeon might be one, but other than that, I didn't really see. Because you could do Soul Loving, but Soul Loving doesn't really have that same type of bang to it as most other stuff either. So we'll kind of see where that goes. Um, but yeah, this is the midpoint of the season. We're getting a lot more shows. We're also losing a couple more because this will be the last I think full week. Olympics end on the 11th, but this will be the last week really where we're going to be not gaining any. A lot of shows will take another hiatus after the Olympics, then come back. So we'll kind of see where things pan out for that point. Chris, go ahead and read off the other chart, and we'll go through that one.
All right, so this other chart was just as interesting. It made a little few things flipped around. So for one, they have Oshinoko. Two, too many losing heroines. Three, Anya hides her feelings in Russian. Four, my dear friend Nokata. Five, Tower of God. Six, Spice and Wolf. Seven, that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Number eight, the elusive samurai. Number nine, the Montagati series. And 10, pseudo harem.
Okay. Okay. The only thing that's really different, the full difference is one and two are flipped on this chart because Oshinoko is 1, and oh no, 1 and 2 ain't flipped. I forgot. One is Oshinoko on this one. It's 2 on the other, and then number 2 spot here is too many heroines or too many loser heroines is on 2. Russian's at 3, which makes sense. I can see Russian being at 3. I'm actually kind of surprised Pseudo Harem's at 10 on here. That tells me that people are actually watching it. It's not as bad as it is from the Crunchyroll side, or not the Crunchyroll, the Anime Corner side. But also too, if you go down the list, if you keep going down the list, like Slime's higher on this list, the Elusive Samurai's higher on this list. They're at 7 and 8 respectively.
V2 Religion's higher on this list.
Correct, they're higher on this list, which also kind of tells me that that's really good. Mocha Punch is 14. It's just like, okay, so these people are actually caring about the ones I think are actually doing well, but ultimately it's not like a huge jump in stuff. I will say this. I think once we get to the end of the season, the charts will more solidify. We're technically in week 5, or this is week 5 or week 6. I have to look at it real quick. Hold on. This is week 5. We're going into week 6. Some shows are at episode 6. Some shows are at episode 5. So that's why it's kind of weird. We are technically almost at the halfway point. I think by the time we get to 7 or 8, then we'll really see what the charts are going to be doing. Ultimately, the charts are not going to, I don't think, going to change too much more. The only thing I'll bank on is that we get, well, the only thing I'm banking on, we get Ocean Coast staying at 1 or 2. I think hiding my feelings in Russian will stay in the top 3. That's the things I want to bank on. Outside of that, everything else will be fluid.
I can see it.
That's pretty much it. Ultimately, I don't think anything else is going to fully change crazily, but we'll see how that all ends up as we get to more weeks of the chart. But we have a special thing tonight. Chris, explain what we're doing for this episode tonight.
So the idea of tonight, since Dungeon People and Shy are off for the Olympics this year, the idea was to show the first episode of one of our favorite animes, both Deon and I. However, since Deon is unable to be with us at this moment, I've picked out a show that is still one of my favorites. It's a little bit longer than our usual 25-minute show, but I really hope you guys enjoy it. So if you don't mind, I would like everyone to pull up Astra, Lost in Space.
Spell that real quick.
Astra.
Yep, see it here. Yep, that is how it's spelled. All right, I'm at all zeros. We'll go in a second. Before we do go, I want you to read that synopsis to give people kind of an idea of what this is about. Chris.
Okay, so the synopsis reads: 8 high school students and a kid are flown out to a planet camp, tasked with surviving their own on for a few days. But shortly after arriving, an ominous glowing orb warps them into an unknown quadrant of space, nearly 5,012 light years away.
Okay. It's funny when I saw the name, but when I saw the description, it reminded me of and this is going to be a weird thing because this shows my age a little bit. It reminds me of the Magic School Bus kind of vibes, but in the sense like it's high schoolers and not middle schoolers, and not the fact you're like Miss Frithel. You just kind of get thrown into like situation like it had that kind of vibe to it.
Well, Brent, I can tell you that you're not too far off.
Huh? That's kind of surprising. I'm usually very far off with that kind of stuff. It's super
I bet I would say you're within like a 2-mile radius.
Okay, not bad, not terrible. But in a second, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. You ready, Chris?
Let's go.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Episode 1, Planet Camp. Oh, it's made by the same people who made a bunch of things.
Kadokawa.
Yeah, they make a lot for the anime for the anime industry. Produce a lot. She just is she just floating in space?
Yep.
You would already normally be dead at this point.
She still got on her spacesuit.
She does get that on. Wait, does this take place in like 2050?
Yep.
Okay. I like the premise so far.
Oh man, they oh man. Oh man. This show is so good. All of that is part of the plot.
Okay. Whoa, he's speeding through there. Well, yeah, the man faster you on foot than you on that bike, which is like one wheel. What is that move name?
Ultimate dive bomb.
Oh, okay. Oh. I will say I like the animation so far.
The animation for this anime was ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm. Really, really, really. The man took get her purse back. Why are you taking him to jail?
The robots, they didn't analyze the situation correctly.
Nope, they didn't. They just kind of let it be. I love the fact this is a futuristic airport. Huh. I love the fact they drawed. Say what now? Also, this gives me like total Drama Island vibes, which is the other part of this I like.
But nah, you're pretty far away with that one. But
Yeah, but like it kind of like the personality. Each personality is different. That's why I like it. That's why I like it so far. Man, she seemed very bratty.
oh man, this story gets so deep.
Wait. You just transferred to a school. Basically, you let kids of high school age go to planet camp by themselves without adult supervision.
Yep, that's part of their growing up process. And as you saw, that's something that everybody goes through.
Yeah, they do. They do. Friend, brother.
Plot point.
Okay. Teacher. Okay. Frozen tangerine. You know the other thing this okay, so the tone of drama I think gives me doesn't it kind of is off you said. The other thing gives me is like Jetson vibes.
Jetson. I could see that.
But like if without all the technology that's Jetson had, but more or less the balance between that and actually real world stuff.
I can see that. Maybe like another 200 or 300 years in the future or so.
Mm-hmm. I love that. You are. Wait. So you're dropping them on a planet with no real like campsite or anything. They have to just rough it.
They have stuff in their bags.
Okay. Oh, what the? Oh, jeez. Uh, it's that was supposed to happen, I assume, right? Or not supposed to happen?
Just keep watching, just keep watching, just keep watching, watching, watching.
Oh. Oh, so they all ended up in they all ended up in space. Oh, our main character, the girl. He's legit. They're legit trying this. I would not survive this.
Mm.
That's okay. All right. You got to hit me in the field with that.
Yep.
That's awesome. Oh, that's not good. This. But there's a catch. Okay. Why is he so bleak? Why is he so bleak? But yet he's like he says what everybody else is thinking.
Yep.
The flashback we're seeing. Yeah. What the? Nope. Little girl's not letting you do it.
Got you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, like this is insane, but actually really good. I love how they go like he's come back. I love. I have to give him credit. That was actually really good. That was a good one, Chris. Like it.
Now you see why it's one of my favorites.
And I like the story because it's a story of survival, but it's also a story of building friends, but also building a team together. So they're doing what they were supposed to do for the project anyway by protecting her little girl, but also getting back home.
But the only thing that you don't get, well, now you do get a plot, but you don't get the whole story. So, oh man, like, oh, for those of our viewers who have seen this show, oh my goodness, y'all know what I'm talking about. This show is so deep and so good,
But
man.
the thing I noticed right off the bat, the character designs, the animation, the way each character has their own way of talking was so unique and so simple. Nothing over the top, nothing too crazy. It just gave you basic character development of each character and why they're there. But at the same time, you can really tell they took their time and really fleshed out everybody in this
Oh
first
yeah.
episode. It's kind of crazy to think about it because it's not something I would have said a long time ago. It, like this is from the early. When did this originally air? I have to look real quick. So 2022. Wow. Um, but you
Right
can
up under
tell.
your radar, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But you can tell it has more of the old style to it, not the new style from now.
Yep.
And it's funny because it does science fiction and it's not The other thing it gives you is Star Trek vibes, which is weird because it's not fully Star Trekky yet, but it's getting there. You can see where they're going with it.
Wait a minute, pause, because you're so correct in that response that and you don't even know how correct you are. That's what's funny.
I don't know how correct I am with that response, but
For those of our viewers who are also Trekkies, we know that there is speculation of Starfleet Academy coming out, which is pretty much this show in a nutshell. And we know this because of certain episodes in Discovery season 4.
it but it also has the vibe. It has the vibe that they understand where they're headed. Here's the thing. It's scary to me because you think that they would have worried a little bit less. You could tell they didn't worry about trying to give you an overarching plot. They didn't throw everything at you at once. This was 40 minutes, maybe give or take. But with that 40 minutes, it was condensed, it was concise, and it was on point. Nothing else was different. That's just insane to me. Um, I'd probably put this on my list to watch down the road. I would absolutely watch this. Keep watching this. It's worth it. And it's by the same people who made Conway's Pictures makes a lot of other stuff in 2023, 2024, current stuff now. So they have a track record. They're good at what they do. If I have to give this a grade, I would have to give this like a 9.
Okay, let me ask you. You gave it a 9.
Go on.
So what would give it that 1 point?
I think for me, the only thing that's kind of weird, I think it's just going to be with time. You
You
get on the
go ahead.
you get on the planet, you get sucked up by the orb thing, and then they just out in space. I assume we're going to get the explanation of what happened with the orb. We are not going to get the. We're either going to get the explanation of what the orb thing is, or we are not. But
Okay.
that's the one thing I think is kind of odd because, like I said, it's the magic school bus theory of like, oh, they throw you in a situation, now they have to figure out how to get out of the situation. So the kids are working together to get out of the situation to get back to the planet to get home. All that. But also,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm going to say this. This anime is more of the whodunit story. You know, the one where people are locked in a hotel and they got to figure out who the killer is.
So basically, Murder on the Orient Express. Um, that kind of okay. I get okay. Yeah, I
That
get
is
where you're
this.
which I'm good with, and I don't mind it. I wonder. So now the mystery is what did the Adorb actually do, and the other mystery is why did it do it? That would be the two.
Oh, you went so cold, bro. But if you watch episode 2, then you'll understand.
Okay. Okay.
So if this is on your list, oh, you're going to be stuck on it. Because now that I've watched the first episode, I'm probably going to finish it tonight.
I think it's just one of those ones where it has a decent plot enough where it keeps you hooked. It will get you hooked.
Most definitely.
It's not overly out of the realms of possibility. You understand what they're trying to do, but it's not like they don't know what they're doing with it either. Um, yeah, this was a good change of pace. We needed something like this. I don't. It's hard because it's hard to nowadays to go back and watch older seasons of stuff, even with everything that's out. You don't really get that very often because most of the time shows are not built to have multiple like you don't get a chance to go back to older things that have been out in 2022 or even earlier years like 2020 2021, and it's kind of this thing of like you just have to search and find it for yourself, and that's a good thing having like Deon and Chris around because they've seen stuff like this and they know what it is. um yeah, but I would say a 9. I would give it a 9. I think the only other thing I will say, which is kind of weird to me, I think the little girl having the puppet is a good thing because she's more comic relief for that point. But it's also odd because she also talks herself too. It kind of gives me that vibe of like older cartoons from the '90s that did
There's a
multiple times.
whole episode for that.
Oh,
Oh
there
my
is.
goodness. Oh my goodness, man.
Okay. All right. All right. You're answering my question, so that's a good thing. I'm not surprised by it. I am not surprised.
Like
Uh,
there is nothing that they left out of detail in this, especially in this first episode. A matter of fact, when you finally watch the last episode or the last two episodes, and you finally get that twist in the show that's been
mm,
biting at your ankle the entire show,
mm-hmm.
it makes you want to throw something at your TV.
Okay. It's one of
That's how
those.
it's one of those like it's suspense in its
Okay.
best. Whoo man, come on.
Do you think it's the type of suspense we got from like Dead Mountain Death Play? Is it more something different in that suspense?
It's more intense than Dead Mount Display.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. That is fair. Okay. I get it.
Hmm.
I hope people enjoyed this special one-off kind of episode we're gonna be doing because it's actually kind of interesting. We don't really get to do these very often because how seasons run. I have to say, with the Olympics being around, it kind of helped for that for this time around. So we kind of can do other episodes and things like that. So when we have like chances where things are on hiatus, we might do this again. It's worth it. It's fun. Um, but ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 67 of the Anime Dojo. Reminder: we officially have 2 days before me, Chris, and Deon head to Anime Missouri. Next Tuesday, we are recording our thoughts about Anime Missouri. We'll have back Dungeon People. We also will have back Shy. That first half of the podcast is going to be about Anime Missouri, our experience, that kind of stuff. We'll also do the charts as well. We'll have that all planned out. Um, I mark a calendar for that because that will go up that Thursday. That's going to be worth a listen because you're going to get to see our thoughts and all that. I've never been more excited for an anime, which I've also, or a convention, which I've been to 10. This will be 10. So like this will be something different for all of us going out to another area of the state and kind of being to a different anime community. So look forward to that. But this episode will go on Spotify after it processes. Also, this episode will go up on uh, YouTube on Thursday morning, so I will have it up. I'll put it on, download it, do all the stuff with it, and put it up on for Thursday morning, so it will be ready to go. But I do thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy, and hope for next time. See you.
Yes.